Welcome back. I hope this now makes sense to some of you to why I built this in stages. It is huge. It's really hard to show you on camera how big this actually is. I would say, looking at this roof, it's probably the size of a small wheelbase transit van. You know, the cargo bit. Actually, cab as well, looking at it. That is how big it is. Now, heavy? Yes, too heavy. I've made it too heavy. As it is at the moment, I dare not use this, but I poured a lot of money into it, so I have no choice. So what have I got to do next? I have seriously got to put this on a fat busting diet. It's just a pity I couldn't do the same thing to myself with what I'm going to do to this, but hey ho, I ain't cutting holes in my body, which is exactly where we're going with this. We are going to cut holes in the roof, in the fascias, everywhere, and then we'll glass. So what we're going to do is there's not a lot of strength. Look at that. So once that fiberglass roof goes on, it's not really going to work out the way I want it to. I have an idea. So I've sanded most of that down now. I've just got this side to do, down there, and the back piece. But I did what I felt was going to be the hardest and the most long-winded. As he's building a shed, making a lot of noise with the radio and everything, I thought, you know what, get out here and take advantage of that. So that is it so far. I have gaps. They're not going to be a problem. But what is going to be a problem is what I spoke about earlier, weight. This is, it's not massively heavy, but it's still heavy. It's still heavier than I want it to be or needs to be. So I mentioned about putting card on and cutting big holes out. Well, I can't exactly do that on the side panels here. And to be honest, they're thin old wood anyway, all of it. Where the heavy stuff is actually on the inside. Plus, we've got 2 sheets of 8x4 for a roof, which on their own are not light either. So, this is my idea. We're going to get the circular saw out, and we're going to cut holes in the roof, but we're going to leave a point in the middle, plus all the corners on each square, so it's still attached. And then we'll put foil tape over the top of that patch, and then we'll put car wax on the foil, and then when we lay everything up, we'll turn it over and we'll rip out those panels, and we'll put a 300 GM, which I need to use up, on the inside just to seal the wood to the fiberglass, and that should on its own be enough. But the other heavy wood is the side panels here. I can't do much about them, but on the other side I can, on the front I can, and on the back I can. This back panel here is quite heavy in its own right, although I don't think it's going to make a lot of difference cutting that out, because there's some whopping great wood there and there, which is not helping my cause. But if we can cut before we fill, or lay up rather, if we can cut them out now, we'll get them gone, we could put a piece of foam inside, and then, I don't know, level it off on the inside so it's flush, and then glass over the top of that, and that also would reduce a lot of the weight. We don't actually need as much strength on that front and back. That's what I first thought. It's more needed here, the strength, and it ain't got a lot there. We are putting some battens in, as we spoke about. You may not have understood me, but there's going to be something screwed down here. Has to be, because when these go in place, they don't sit inside anything, they sit directly under. So we've got those two items running underneath, and to stop the water from getting in, we've got to run a piece of wood or something down. I don't know what to do about that. I'm stuck. Decision has been made about that bit underneath. I am going to build that separately after I've mounted all the metalwork and the extra woodwork for the mechanisms to work. So once we've got it all on, I think what we're going to do is we're going to have to bring the crown ring in, leave that leaning up against the rickety shed, and attempt to mount the two together in the garden and then disconnect. I just hope that is going to be strong enough to hold it up, otherwise the whole lot's going to come crashing to the ground. That's all I can come up with, and then we'll know then when we lower it back down again, we will know exactly how thick that's got to be and what we'll do. There you go, and that is what I had in mind. So we'll put some very thin cuts in there so the wood will split away easy. We'll put some deep cuts across. That hasn't layered itself, so I'm happy about that, because I was expecting that, if I'm honest. I have got to level that side off because we're a little low, but other than that, they will pull off very easily. So the next thing to do with these cuts, because I'm going to do it throughout the whole thing, the next thing to do with these cuts is to put some foil tape over the slits, so I've got a smooth transition between two panels, and I'll run my finger through just to get a groove going, and then once we get this thing turned over, we can literally rip them out and glass up on the inside just around the edges, or maybe put that 300 in. We've got 300 left over, which I'm trying to get rid of anyway. It's just too thin. It's too thin for use. You'd need to double it up to get 600 with that. I made a mistake when I bought that, to be honest. So yeah, we've got 450 going on top. We'll put 300 underneath. Half the weight is now gone once I've removed these out. We've got a solid mass underneath. We've just then got to cut as many large panels out as we possibly can. It's got blooming cold all of a sudden. Really weird. Right, when my slits are cut out, if I haven't shown you, the foil around the slits have been put on, and I've added some liquid wax, which seems to be very water based and probably isn't going to work. But I can't rub any hard wax on that apart from car polish, which is what I usually use, to be honest. So I'm just going to get a cloth and I will gently rub this in because we want it to dry, and it's a little thickly laid up in places, like so. Funny old stuff. I did use it on my desk up in the bedroom, the office room, whatever you want to call it. As releasing agents go, this is similar to what you would actually use in the industry, except it's more chemical based. This is just eco-friendly stuff for the benefits of YouTube and neighbours, mainly neighbours. I have a neighbour that doesn't like the smell of paint, and this stuff seems to be fairly odourless. There we go. That will dry off. I will look for some polish, like car wax or something, and wallop on top of it if I can. The wood after this will be of no more use. I won't be able to do anything with it. So that will just get sliced up, slung in a bag, given to a friend of mine, And if he chooses not to burn it, and I know you're watching, dear friend, then keep it in the bag and I'll come back and I'll take it away and I'll dump it properly. Right, it's very late at night. I've made some decisions. I hope you can hear me, so I'm going to talk very quiet. Decision number one, I'm putting heavy duty torsion bars on the front. Decision number two, I'm putting an air pump and I'm putting air assisters in the rear springs, and I'm also jacking the back end up in the air a little higher for definite. Okay. Decision number three, I'm gonna glass the top, but the bit underneath here, I'm gonna leave that alone for the moment. What I will then do is turn this thing over, get the crown ring off, lay the crown ring on that side, on top of it, so it's all upside down, glass the crown ring up, and then when it comes to putting the mechanism back in place, I think we'll do it upside down, because it will be a lot easier, a hell of a lot easier lifting that crown ring than it will be trying to manoeuvre this thing around on the crown ring when I ain't even got anywhere to put the crown ring on, because it's like this, it's a bit big. So that's the decision I've come to, and that's what I'm going to do. So tomorrow morning when I wake up, I'm going to cut the fiberglass in anticipation. What was that? Huh. Weird. Anyway. That's pretty much what I'm going to do. So we'll cut out the material tomorrow and we'll make it all nice and fit nicely. So we'll do the top roof first. Or should we? Actually, no, I might not. I might do the sides first and then have an overlap on the edge there where that tape is, and then let that cure, and then maybe put a big twin piece over the rest of it. Major meltdown. All my bloody matting is wet. I've got it lingering everywhere to dry, including the living room. I've got the heating on full whack. It's hot as hell in here. There you go, another row of it there. And what happened was I left it in my conservatory and it was leaning up against the glass, and over the period of what, weeks that's been in there, which hasn't been in there long, the moisture from the windows at night has found its way onto the matting, and well, I soaked it. So I've learnt some lessons on this one. So from now on, I'm not putting it over there. It's going to have to go on shelf somewhere else. Now look, I did dry this one out, but it didn't dry out properly, unfortunately. I've got moisture there. I've got moisture there. I've got moisture on the corner. Oh, it's really annoying. I did dig some of it out here, but ideally in the real world I shouldn't go over the top of that, especially with the centre boards being pulled out, especially that one. But I think what we're going to have to do, and we have no choice in the matter, is we're going to have to put another layer on top. It's only 450 anyway, and it feels quite thin, too thin at the point to pull out those boards at this very point in time. Even if I was to put the 300 underneath, I still don't think it's going to be suitable at the moment. So I've done one half, I've done that frontage, I've done that centrepiece here, or the left part of the centrepiece, and I've done the backboard, the stern, so to speak. We've 450, look, we've still got little pinprick holes everywhere. So no, I think we're going to have to put another one on, but we're going to have to come to that edge just to fold it over gently. And the areas where it's moist, I don't know what to do about that, if I'm honest. Some of it's cured, some of it hasn't. I mean, that I could peel off and do again, I suppose. But that one has already started to set. Yep. So, no. It is looking like we're going to have to put another 450 over the top, which means I'm going to have to order some more because I haven't got enough to do this and the crown ring. We just don't have enough. We have the 350 over here. That happens to be dry. There's a whole roll of the stuff, about 10 meters I think. That on its own would do the crown ring. I could go over that twice if need be, but no, disaster, absolute ratty disaster. So I think we're just going to leave that. Morning. Remember that water moisture? Well, I had to cut it out in the end because it was not on its own strong enough. It just wasn't. Look at the state of that. All that white is water, and look how bitty that is. The problem with moisture, look at that. It's dry now because I hit it with a sander and it heated it up and evaporated it, but the problem is it's left no strength. Look, there's nothing there. 450 GM is what will give you this thin layer, which is fine as long as it sticks. That's the problem, which it has on here hopefully anyway. So I've cut that out, and then I've done that magic word, scarf. So I've sanded all the way around the outside edge to bring it into a V. So basically a scarf joint is, you want to join, let me put it, you want to join one of your main deck beams. Yeah, so you'd have a beam like that and you cut it down like that, and then the one that you're putting on top would go like that and then like that, right? That is a scarf where you veer off. Now there's other scarves as well. There's the stepped scarf where your scarf joint will do this and come down like so, and then your second joint would be made and you'd put that step in there like so. So that's a stepped scarf. That one's quite a tight one that stops pulling from left to right. That one is just to extend a piece of wood. Another scarf joint, you'll find this in plywood that you buy from DIY stores, is it's like zigzagged and they push the two together like a dovetail, but that's not actually a dovetail. And that's what a scarf is, and that's what he would have. There we go. Unfortunately my battery died, so I never filmed much of what's going on. You can see that it hasn't quite soaked all of the chop strand mat, and the problem I'm having is it's cold. It's not summer, it is actually quite cold, and this stuff is as gloopy as hell, and that's the issue that I'm having. I'm doing the best I can with it. A lot of air in there still, you can hear it. But yeah, so 300 the first initial patch, 300 overlaid over the top around the scarfed area, and then I got another 300, split it down to 150 and laid that all the way around, which has now brought it a little bit higher than I'm comfortable with, but there was so much resin that I had to soak it up somehow. Well, it has been a very, very long day. Oh, that's all done. Well, almost. We've now got to turn it over, rip the wood out, and glass the inside of them, and I've got to do just underneath here, so I've got to put another piece in along that back and fold it. I've got to just gently sand out what hasn't stuck down and then bring it around a little bit, and then there's a case of trimming up, which I'll do with a I can't remember the name of the damn thing, the noisy, vibraty, blinking tool. I hate it, but I've got a cutter in it that will trim this up nicely. So that's it, we are almost there, but we're also out of resin, almost. I just got enough to finish off, and I'm going to have to make another order tomorrow for the crown ring. Don't know if I'm going to need as much as what I have, but I also have the drop sides for the walls to do as well. So unfortunately also some foliage got in on it as well. So oh dear, never mind. Yeah, there's not a lot I can say. It's seems to have worked. Any more resin than I absolutely necessarily have to. Putting another layer of chopped strand would most definitely strengthen that up, but it is also putting a tiny bit more weight back that I don't particularly want to put in there, because we just turned this over earlier, and believe me, a flipping hell, I lifted it, but he was struggling, my lad. So no, I'm not going to line that. I should, I'm not going to. What I'm going to do instead is, when I get the polyurethane boards, I'm going to get some spray foam, and I'm going to spray foam on top of all of this, let it froth, and then I'm going to comb it, and let it froth again, and then I'm going to comb it, and then I'll put the polyurethane boards on top. That should, at that point, you see it's lost its foam, the process of it foaming, that will be gone. That will just be a gloop of glue, which is what I found in the past. It's very useful. So yeah, we'll then put the polyurethane units in, and then we'll put a length of hardboard at a later date over the top, and not before. We've still got a hatch to put in somewhere, so I'm kind of debating whether just to live with what I got for the moment, because we've got to get that hatch out of that lorry. I want that hatch, I'm not leaving that in there, but it means I've got to seal the hole up after, because if anyone potentially wants to buy that, they don't want a leaking van, it just won't sell. So I have got to put something in place to stop that from happening. The other thing I need to do is, I've got this stuff here, which is the what is it, 10 mil, and I've got it on the inside all the way along, so I think I need to cut that all out, but I need to leave sections in place like stilts to mimic frames, you know, to mimic a framework. Again, we're putting hardboard all the way around this and not plywood or any such other thing. I think the hardboard is a lot lighter. So all that leaves me to do today then is to trim off this glass that's overhanging and sand back under here, this edge here, because that is just still raw wood under there, and I need to put one small thin strip of GRP in, and we need to tidy this up here, and as soon as we've done that, we are finished. This video can be uploaded, because the next stage is to get the crown ring off and lay that on top and start working the mechanism. I don't think I've got enough resin to do the crown ring at the moment, and I've probably crazed everybody with the smells of this stuff, so I'm going to put this fiberglass one down as soon as I've got that underside done, and I'll pick the crown ring up again next week, by which time I'm hoping to have the battens in place on here, which means I can then glass this up, which I'm kind of looking forward to doing. No, I'm not, that's a lie. I hate fiberglass, and I absolutely do. It's a necessary evil on this thing. Also, I need to do a bit of filler work in here because my measurements didn't quite come out as good as they should have done. Oops. So there you go, there is the curve, and I've just used foil to mould that, so it should be enough. We should be fine with that. We'll in this area here we'll go quite high. I had to put a big lip up there because it needs something to stick to, doesn't it? So when I glass that in, this particular bit, I'll dump another bit in there, just like a piece of 300 or something, just to get a shape really. I can't really do much more than that. I've sanded it all back. Got a nice edge along there now. We just got to get a brush it all out. Cut one piece to go in. We don't even need to flare or feather the edge of the glass. We can just literally just put it straight on, and then we'll sand it at a later date. And if you look closely, there's gaps anyway, so we're going to have to come up and above, and we'll just have to shape it. So at some point, even though I said to the neighbour I weren't going to sand any of this, I will have to. But I definitely won't be there for hours on end doing it. It'll be a 10-minute job, literally just throw the sander on, roughen it up, and I'll be ready at some point for bed liner, because at the moment it's very shiny, which means the paint's not really going to stick on its own. I haven't primed any of this up, see, so how long this will last I don't know. The paint's kind of being rushed a bit. I have no choice on that one. It's just that the amount of a nuisance everything is on the scale that I'm doing, and I'm trying to keep the irritations down as much as I can, just because I'm not in the mood for confrontations. But once this bit is done, I haven't got to do it again, have I? So that's kind of where I'm looking at it from. Laurie's question: was it worth it? I ask you. I think so. They're all out. I was going to glass up, but changed my mind on that. As you know, trimmed off. I've laid up under here now. I'm happy with that. I've just got to sand it all back when it's dry. That's about as good as that is going to get. And then we've got to sand all these edges before we put the crown ring on. I'm a little concerned about the weather. I'm wondering whether I should turn this back over and just have a break from it for the, we're Thursday today. I've definitely got to take her out tomorrow, so maybe, because I ain't got anywhere to stop pumping the rain getting that. It's going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Let's be honest about it. It's going to be a nightmare. So I sat there hard thinking, is there any other stuff that I can remove and try and get some weight reduction? But there really isn't. I mean, when you pick one end up, it's not as heavy as you'd think, but when you're trying to pick both ends up with two people, yeah, a bit of a problem. That's all glassed in and sanded. I meant to have shown you that before I ended the video. So I'm all trimmed up as well. Very basic trimming. We need to go over with a sanding disc. I need to get rid of any screws sticking out still. But other than that, yeah, we're ready for the crown ring to sit or adorn its position. Just be concerned about the weather, to be honest, because water get inside here, I'm in trouble. Bigger trouble than I, because that will get underneath the fiberglass. It will find a way, and then the whole lot will just peel off gradually as time go by. That's the problem. Fiberglass on wood, it will peel if it gets wet. That's why a lot of transoms on speedboats, older speedboats that have got wood in the transoms, are so wobbly, floppy. You know what I mean? Water kills them. So there you go. I'm not pleased with that. It's just a pity the damn thing's too heavy and it might not end up on the truck in any way. So, you know, we have a shed roof. We have that. That one's knackered. That shed's definitely knackered. So, at worst, I have a shed roof. My boy is not here and I can't lift this thing on my own. Don't get any worse than that, do it? We'll finish trimming up and we'll put plastic back on. Right, I'll see you next week. Thanks for your likes, shares and your lovely comments, and I hope I get your approval with the like button being pressed on this one, because that's kind of how it goes, isn't it? So I'll see you next week. Bye bye.